Welcome to Gospel Greetings number 31 as we continue through the Gospel of John. You'll remember that last week we looked at John 1:12. Yet to as many as received him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. You'll also remember that we talked about remembering how God gives us freedom, the freedom to choose him today, and how we also need to remember those who gave us our freedoms. And we said, lest we forget. And we sure appreciate those who gave us this. This week, we're going to go on to John 1:14, and I'll read it. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. The Apostle John now reintroduces Jesus not just as the ever-existent Logos, as in verse 1, but as the Logos who took on flesh and became a man. This is what is called the incarnation, or the enfleshment of God. This blew his readers away. They had never heard of such a thing. It was preposterous, and that is exactly the point. God brings radical change into how we see him to benefit mankind. Then we see that same Jesus who made his dwelling among us. This is the Greek word skino. It's like a scrim or a tent. Jesus literally tabernacled with us. It's a picture of the Old Testament where God inhabited the tent or tabernacle among his people, the Israelites. As Eugene Peterson translates this verse, he says that the Word became flesh and moved into the neighborhood. John says later that they had seen him, they had witnessed, heard him, and touched him, a physical man. But more than that, Peter says that they were also eyewitnesses to the manifestation of his glory on the Mount of Transfiguration in 1 Peter 1. He said it was glorious. They were so enveloped in blazing white light that they fell face down on the ground. Then they heard the voice of the Father, Father God, confirming that this was his Son, in whom he was well pleased. This is the only begotten Son, a Son begotten by a Father. He was not made or created like we were. He was begotten. We become sons by receiving and believing in him, but he alone is the only begotten one. Yet not only is Jesus glorious and only begotten, he also came full of grace and truth. Full of grace means full of unmerited favor, gifts, acts of beneficence. He was kind, merciful, gracious, doing good to all and seeking our welfare by the great sacrifices and loving acts that he did. But he was also full of truth. He declared the truth. In him was no falsehood. He was not like false teachers, kings and dictators who really are imposters when you get down to it. He also wasn't like the emblems and shadows of the old covenant, which were only types of the truth, but he was the truth itself. He represented things as they are and thus became the truth as well as the way and the life. All of this change was difficult for his disciples who were devout Jews. They couldn't figure it out. And many today still can't figure it out. A God who walked with men, full of God's glory, grace, and truth. Hard as this was to understand, God did it to save mankind. Is there a change you need to make in the way you think about God this week? Is there a new way you need to look at him? Bless you all.